So today is 20th July 2025, Sunday comes. So as usual, we will have our physical puja. Let us compose our mind, develop the faith, the saddha, virya, that mindfully we shall commence the physical puja. 南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无本师释迦牟尼佛。南无观世音菩萨。南无观世音菩萨。南无观世音菩萨。南无阿弥陀佛。南无阿弥陀佛。南无阿弥陀佛。南无弥勒佛。南无弥勒佛。南无弥勒佛。南无药师佛。南无药师佛。南无药师佛。南无普贤菩萨。南无普贤菩萨。南无普贤菩萨。南无地藏王菩萨。南无地藏王菩萨。南无地藏王菩萨。南无佛菩萨。南无佛菩萨。南无佛菩萨。阿拉亨萨玛萨布多巴嘎哇。Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Saukasangho Sanghang Namami Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Adina dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapamadatthana Veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, let us pay respect to Puja. Buddhang Poh Cheng. Dhammang Poh Cheng. Sanghang Poh Cheng. Okay, you all can be seated. Okay, yeah. Turn to page 6 of the chanting book. We will do the invocation to the Devas. Invocation to the Devas. In this universe, in the entirety, let the Devas or deities come here. Let them hear the good teachings of the King of Sages, which gives heaven and release, Nibbana. This is the time to listen to the teaching. This is the time to listen to the teaching. This is the time to listen to the teaching. Samanta Chakawalesu Atraha Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajasa Sunantu Sakemokadang Dhamma Savanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhamma Savanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Dhamma Savanan Kalo Ayang Badanta Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti Beso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijajarana Sampanno Sugato Lokavido Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Satta Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipaseko Opanayiko Pachatang Veditapo Vinohiti Supatipanno Bhagavato Saukasangho Uyupatipanno Bhagavato Saukasangho Nyayapatipanno Bhagavato Saukasangho Samicipatipanno Bhagavato Saukasangho Yadidang Chatari Purisa Yukani Atta Purisa Pugala Esa Bhagavato Saukasangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakeneyo Anjali Karaniyo Anutarang Punyang Ketang Lokasati Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu. Okay, you all can be seated. And we'll continue on where we stopped. We are at page 148, lesson 29. Yeah? So I will straight away read to you part 1, 1.1, a short note from the previous Surangama Sutta. It so happened at that time, we also went through the Surangama Sutta. There were no short notes for last week's Sutta, so we will use the short note from last Tuesday class Surangama Sutta. It so happened at that time, we also had our Surangama Sutta sharing, but it's on the Tuesday class. So this Heart Sutra, or what we call the earlier Heart Sutra sharing, was conducted on the Sunday class at Wu Ping Jing Se, which is Mahayana Vihara. That's why that day it so happened, we decided to revert back to using the Surangama Sutta for our sharing. And it also coincides with our last Thursday's decision. Our last Thursday class was based on the unique Dhamma code as written by me. We actually completed the last three code, unique code 158, 159, 160. Oh, I forgot already. I think it's 158, 159, 160, or 59, 60, 61. And because we finished, we decided to continue for our next session the same topic on Surangama Sutta. So since we are now trying to finalize which book to follow, because we only managed to have the PDF version of the copy by Venerable Charles Luk. He is also the disciple of Chwee, but he's a lay disciple. The old monk, Mahayana monk, that lives up to 120 years old, Chwee or something. There is another version by Master Xuan Hua. So this is a new translation based on the Buddhist Text Translation Society. I think Sister Pamasuri managed to get a copy from this Deng Bian. And they said they had a lot of copy to spare. The only thing we have to do is, I think we have to contribute about 25 ringgit for the printing fee or what, I forgot already. Something like that. But it's worth it because it's a very thick book. But I have to go through, see which version is better. Yeah. Okay. So with that, we will now continue from where we supposed to share. 1.1 Short note from the Surangama Sutta. The Surangama Sutta, or in Mandarin, is Leng Yan Jing. It's important because without it, the Mara will create havoc. So this is according to Master Xuan Hua. This sutta will be the first, according to Master Xuan Hua, this sutta will be the first sutta to disappear during the Dhamma ending age. Means towards the period where the Dhamma ending age will come. It was predicted that the first Mahayana Sutta to disappear will be this Surangama Sutta or Leng Yan Jing. If this sutta is around, the Mara will find it very difficult to delude the cultivators. This sutta explains clearly the danger of the 50 deviant samadhi, or in Mandarin is called 五世阴谋, that can trap cultivators of the way if they deludedly grasp onto any of them. The Surangama Sutra is also explained. The Surangama Sutra also explains how living beings come into this world of existence via the 4 stages of manifestation or formation, originating from the source. The 4 stages of manifestation are clearly explained in the notes to be given out at the next Tuesday class. So this is the same as the 4 circle formation I've shared with you all in the Heart Sutra. So I will read through so that you understand. From the source comes the true mind in pure awareness before the knowing. So this is according to the Surangama Sutra. There is a part which I extracted from the Chao's Look version. So this part, according to them, they just mention this, but they don't know how it started. So for those who have developed the cultivation and who have developed the understanding of what that source or oneness nature is, they will know this so-called manifestation from the source cannot happen if you don't have a form in mind to arise through the karmic process. So for living beings to arise within the existential world, we need a karmic nature. And to have the karmic nature, we need to go through samsara. Yeah. Like the Buddha in his opening statement when he taught the monks in the Theravada tradition. He said, inconceivable is the first thought of ignorance that condition the arising of this movement of the karmic process. Yeah. The beginning of the first thought that move all this. It is inconceivable unless you are a Samasa Buddha. You cannot conceive it and understand it. So because of that, for those who cultivate, they will know. This samsaric process is already very long. So most living beings, when they arise, they have fallen from the first thought of ignorance that condition all this movement until now. But for this to happen, you need the karmic nature. So once the first thought of ignorance moves, it starts to accumulate the karmic nature. That karmic nature, once is established, all living beings will have, even after you have completed your training to become Bodhisattva, and finally Sammasambuddha. The karmic nature is still there. Even for those who go through the sainthood way, when you realize enlightenment, there is still a karmic nature. Yeah. But if you don't have the understanding of how to continue after you have realized arahantaship to come back to the bodhisattva way, then you cannot develop this understanding. But for those who have gone through the bodhisattva way and developed the understanding of how to come back as a bodhisattva, to continue with their cultivation, to perfect the 10 perfection until Sammasambuddhahood, then they will understand. And for those who have gone through that, they will also know that you need the karmic nature to arise within the existential world. So what happens is, once that karmic nature condition a form and mind to arise within the conditioned world, there are two possibilities of it happening. One is through the normal ignorant avijja. That's why the normal ignorant will be the samsaric process, the birth and death of living being. We are ignorant. The other one is for enlightened being, as a bodhisattva. Bodhi is enlightenment, sattva is a being. A being that is enlightened, that walks the bodhisattva way. So for that type of being, they actually die without ignorance, without avijja. Then how do they come back? They also need a coming nature, but they need a mind that has causes and conditions related to existence. So what they develop through their understanding is to hold the Bodhisattva vows, the four basic vows of the Bodhisattva, at least the first basic vow, where they vow to take across all living beings from all the realms of existence to the other shore. So once they make the vow, it is out of love and compassion for living beings. And because of that, there is no avijja. So that pure mind, that pure thought that has the condition by taking this vow will arise a form and mind. And this form and mind need not have avijja. That's why there is no such thing as rebirth consciousness born of avijja. No. Means it doesn't have to go through that karmic process of birth via ignorant or what we call avijja. So this is the part that cultivator of the way who have gone through that will understand. Then what happens is when one take birth, you see, when one take birth, the difference is as a normal human being that go through the normal rebirth process via avijja, they will not understand that there is a true mind or a pure awareness nature within them. They will not know. Because straight away, the moment they are born into existence, they go through the karmic process, which the Buddha explained to us very clearly. He said, under the fifth daily contemplation, we are all born of our karma, heir to our karma, conditioned and supported by our karma, and we are what we are because of our karma. So this is the part where living beings have to go through. And because of that, during birth, the baby, or let's take for example the human being, our rhyme, human. When a baby is born, normally they are without any conditioning or memory. But as the Buddha, through his full enlightenment, realized the moment they are born into this world of existence, they already have the karmic conditioning. That's why they are born of their karma, heir to their karma, conditioned and supported by their karma. And they are what they are because of their karma. So that process is already there. Yeah. But the brain is still very, very, I should say, more or less like a clean slate. They haven't learned through conditioning, belief system, all those things. They don't have knowledge, words, all those things. So normally a newborn baby, they are like very pure, very pure. But the karmic conditioning is there. So whatever they go through is a karmic condition. So if you observe them, the baby actually tend to sleep most of the time. Yeah. Unless when they are hungry, yeah, or something make them uncomfortable, then they will cry and they need food. As long as there is food, you will consume them. Can be mother's milk or whatever. Then after that they will sleep. Yeah. Then during that time, they hardly dream. They hardly dream. Yeah. Then their mind is like a pure mind, except without the knowledge, without the memory, without the conditioning, the belief system, all those things. So they are quite naive, quite sincere in that sense, and very cute. That's why you would like to play with them. You would like to observe their behavior. And sometimes they are very innocent, very naive, very cute. So that is the process. But what I'm trying to tell you is the moment they are born into this existential world, the first type is very ignorant, which I have described, like the baby. Then they go through that process. Then as they grow up, they develop all the knowledge, all the conditioning, the belief system. They learn from the people who take care of them, the environment, the society, the education, everything. They start to accumulate all this knowledge. Yeah. Whereas the Bodhisattva is different. When they come, there is no avijja. Yeah. Actually, if you have cultivated for quite a while, your nature will know when you come, you are actually very pure. Because the first thing to arise from that source, once the baby, the senses, everything is already developed inside the womb before it's born. What happens is the consciousness that come in, eh, that one is the pure consciousness from the karmic nature. So the first thing to arise within this is the pure awareness nature, or we call it the your true mind. But because you are too small, you cannot understand, and you cannot even develop any cognition of it. And because of that, even the Bodhisattva, when they come, they are not much different from the normal being that is born from avijja ignorance. The only difference is, the exception is, their karmic nature are very much more superior than the normal living being that has not developed the enlightenment. Then they have their spiritual nature, which is their past cultivation, to support them. Then when they come, the first thing to arise is the pure awareness nature. That's why I still remember when I was young. Even until the age of 5, I remember, I got no thought, hardly any thought, very pure. Yeah. Then I saw my photo, my parent took me to the studio to take. Very innocent, even at the age of 2 or 3. Yeah. But the moment I was transferred to a notorious small town near Alasta, where I supposed to settle down to have my education, all those things, my this pure nature got contaminated by the society there. Where it's a notorious small town, where a lot of funny things happen, even gangsterism, everything. Then the influence. Then after that, I realized my mundane thinking, everything, the habitual tendency, it developed, until I went to school. But all this, despite what happened, is like meant to be for me to develop the understanding and for me to learn, for me to go through life and existence. Then since young, very strange, my nature already know that I am different from normal people. A lot of things that normal people do, I do not do. Yeah. Then I can see and sense a lot of things that normal people don't pay attention to, or don't have interest in at all. Then deep inside my nature, I already know. I can observe and I can see the causes and conditions like karmic and all those things. The moment I did something not in accordance, I can see them. Then that effect of it or the karmic function of it come back very fast. Yeah. So all this when I was young, I saw. Then there were many things that I saw that normal people don't see. That's why I knew I was different. Then when I grew up, I also went through a lot of transformation and understanding. Then I realized my life is very different. Yeah. And I was like very blessed, very lucky, and a lot of things go my way. Yeah. That's why that is the part that I want to share so that you understand. So go back to the notes now. Yeah. So for those cultivator of the way, yeah, when they come, they will know from the source or our original nature or oneness nature or the true nature. Here in the sutta, it says, comes the true mind in pure awareness before the knowing. That before the knowing was added by me. Yeah. So this true mind, the pure awareness nature, only cultivator of the way, those who take the Bodhisattva way, will know it exists. Then you will know you have two minds. This is the primordial mind. This is the first thing to arise from our nature within the source. Their original nature. The first to manifest is this. And this is called primordial because original. Yeah. But from there, all things arise. All creation arise. All mundane manifestation arise. So this part, if you are not a cultivator, you cannot see it, you cannot stay in this state. From this state, it moves on to the five aggregate of form and mind, which is the third circle formation, which is our thought process. Yeah. And that one manifests very fast. That's why every moment of sense experience, the five aggregate of form and mind is there. Then through our knowledge, our learning, we perceive, then we develop all the habitual tendency, the belief system, the conditioning. Then from there, we react and stir our mind, and we live our life in accordance. Of course, in between, conditions supported by our karma. Then how we manifest and become what we are is all karmically related. So this first arising, the true mind in pure awareness before the knowing, is very difficult for normal living being to realize or have an understanding of what it is. Only cultivator of the way can. So what happened is in the sutta, all these are summarized. That's why they say from the source comes the true mind in pure awareness. But before the knowing was added by me. Then they say after that immediately, man because of basic ignorant cause. So this is the first thought of ignorant. Basic ignorant cause. Yeah. Since time without beginning. This is similar to what the Buddha mentioned. Inconceivable is the beginning of the first thought. So since time without beginning means inconceivable is the beginning of the first thought. Then he said, by the first thought, we screen the true mind. Means that true mind or pure awareness nature, that movement into the first thought is basic ignorant cause. That is the first cause. That's the. Although you can say at that time there was no real avijja or one, but we call it basic ignorant cause. Means very basic. From that pure nature, the first thing to come out is the first thought that stirs and manifests itself. So that thought, which is pure, and yet there is basic ignorance behind. Means the beginning. So I read again, you listen. Man, because of the basic ignorant cause, since time without beginning by the first thought, we screen the true mind. It's like cloud, like a screen, the true mind. Became subject to birth and death. This is the beginning of birth and death of the thought process. Yeah. Thus, both permanent and impermanent unite to transform that true mind of pure awareness nature into alaya viyanam, or what we call the storehouse consciousness, or the mundane mind, the mundane thinking. And this is the root of samsara. From here, samsara begins. So this one is a very profound statement. That's why they just summarize to you, because only the enlightened being who has gone through can understand it. Otherwise, you cannot understand. If you're normal cultivator, even Theravada tradition, same way, you read, you cannot understand. You still don't know what they are trying to tell you. So this one, you need to penetrate that nature. You need to see all this. Then go through the cultivation and develop the stability of understanding. While your nature's direct seeing, silent mind that awaken. Then after that, it continues. He said this alaya consciousness has three characteristics. So the first characteristic is a karmic one. That's why there is a karmic characteristic that develop the karmic movement or samsara movement. That's why it generates a karmic nature. So these come from basic ignorance. So the three characteristics, the first one is a karmic one, which is basic ignorance, resulting from self-evidence, because you think you exist, because it's self-evident. The second one is a changing and condition arising one. That's why this is the mundane mind, which is dependent, originating, condition arising, causal phenomena. So a changing and condition arising one is the second characteristic. Yeah. So when this one happens, it turns fundamental wisdom into false perception. Means all our perception through the mundane mind, mundane thinking process is not what you think. It is dependent, originating, condition arising. So this word is very important. A changing and condition arising one, which turns fundamental wisdom, means that intrinsic fundamental wisdom, into false perception. Means all the perception that the living being perceive through their senses, the sixth sense door, the sixth type of sense door perception, because you don't have wisdom and right view, because of sakayaditi, because of self-delusion and ignorance, you grasp and cling to the five aggregate of form and mind. And when you do that, that is wrong thought, false perception. It has karmic implication. So that becomes the root of the first seven consciousness. So this root of the first seven consciousness is what your sankhara is. discriminating aspect of the mundane mind. The perception is your sixth consciousness. I have explained to you before. The five basic senses that we have can give rise to the five type of basic consciousness. Like our eye can give rise to seeing consciousness. The ear, the hearing can give rise to hearing consciousness. Our nose, smell consciousness. Our tongue, taste consciousness. Bodily, tactile consciousness. Then there is one that is at the mind level. When we go to the brain, from the brain, we arise the sixth consciousness. And this is our perception aggregate. Because every of these sense, the consciousness that arise, you need the brain memory, knowledge to perceive, to arise the sixth consciousness. So the sixth consciousness, which is perception, is common to all. That's why that one become the sixth consciousness. Then that is like what we call the sense data for the seventh consciousness. So the seventh consciousness is like an organ. The organ that receives the sense data. Then what happens is upon contact, this, like the brain, the organ, yeah, it will manifest into consciousness, like the physics experiment. Upon contact, consciousness come to be. The light bulb lights up and you become conscious. So this one become consciousness. So the thought consciousness is what the eight consciousness is all about. That is what avijja, alaya consciousness is all about. So this alaya consciousness is not the pure nature's consciousness. Is they call it alaya because it had the storehouse consciousness. The content of consciousness has gone in. So this is the part. So I read again, you listen. This one is not easy to understand. From the source comes the true mind or pure awareness nature before the knowing. Man, because of basic ignorant cause, since time without beginning, by the first thought of ignorance, which screened the true mind, became subject to birth and death, which is samsara. Thus, both permanent and impermanent unite to transform the true mind into alaya consciousness or vijnana, or the storehouse consciousness, which is the root of samsara. Then this alaya consciousness or storehouse consciousness has three characteristics. First is a karmic one, which is basic ignorance resulting from self-evidencing. Then a changing and condition arising one, which turns fundamental wisdom into false perception. The root of the first seven consciousness. This is the sankara, discriminating one, creating discrimination. And its expression in appearance or form. So from there, the three types of characteristics manifest. Then because of basic ignorance, the spiritual bright and nirvanic absolute void was changed into dull and diluted emptiness. So this sentence is very powerful. Because of basic ignorance, the first thought that stirred, the spiritual bright and nirvanic absolute void means our source, our pure nature, was changed into dull or diluted emptiness, which means it's not the real Zhen Kong, means true emptiness. Hence, Manjusri said, as in delusion, there appear one-sided emptiness. This is what the video meant by uh, the one-sided emptiness. Within this dull emptiness, ignorant, the avijja, that so-called ignorant avijja, they gradually solidify or crystallize and turn into illusionary form, make up of the four elements, resulting in an imaginary world created within the void. That's how existence arises. When false perception confronted form, a very small part of this form was gradually grasped as being self-possessed, as the ego, and be supported by the wrong perception. Mind and form unite and grasp at this dim little form as the ego, thereby creating the living being, make up of the five aggregates of form and mind. Hence, Manjusri continue. This one is very good. Steadying itself, the thought process make the continent, and the illusionary knower becomes the living being. Then we are delusion and ignorant. The living being with the mundane or samsaric mind, I put in bracket the five mental aggregates of form and mind, came to be via the karmic conditioning, and this was then grasped. Hence, the Sakaya deity or self-delusion. This was the origin of a living being. Ever since then, this living being grasps at the condition arising five aggregates of form and mind as the ego, as the I and the me. So how then can he now recognize his boundless full mind, pure nature, before the stirring? So now you understand, huh? So this part, so concise, so beautifully summarized, but without the cultivation, you cannot understand. You cannot know what this thing is. That's why the Buddha used the word inconceivable is the beginning of the first thought of ignorance, basic ignorance, that screened the true nature and started all this coming movement or process. So from here, you will know there is no such thing as the conventional creation. You don't need a creator to create any of all this movement. All this movement are nature's conditioning and movement. And from there, all things arise and to become what it is. So this Sakaya deity that condition us to believe that we are real, we exist as a living being or a human being in our case, is a real delusion or self-delusion. That's why in the early day, I remember I used to share with you all. We grasp at the five head of form and mind, thinking that it is real. Then we think we exist. That's why from there, this living being roam in samsara. And through all this process of we call it downfall, the karmic downfall. We have drifted and lost our way, not knowing our beginning. That's why we continue to fall for so long, for eons and eons and eons. That's why in the note, it is mentioned, I read to you again. Ever since then, this living being grabs at the condition arising 5 years of form and mind as the ego, as the I and the me. So how then can he now recognize its boundless true mind before the stirring? And now you ask yourself that question. When you meditate, awareness base, you go in. Then you start to understand all this. Then you realize, no wonder living being cannot understand. Because they don't know how all this started. So when you are caught in that movement, the karmic activity and movement, it crystallizes and solidifies until all this manifests, until the phenomenal world of consciousness, the last circle, where all the so-called chaotic uh, manifestation of life. The chaotic nature cannot be perceived or understood if you don't have the Dhamma wisdom, the understanding. You may still think that it's beautiful because within the phenomenal world of consciousness, everything is so meaningful, so beautiful. Like it lures you, it entices the living being. Yeah. And people become so like so attracted to it. That's why they are willing to strive for it. All the wealth, the reputation, all of the so-called creation manifested by the phenomenal world. So they really fight and they really go all out to own them, have them. And through this process, they entangle themselves, develop all the affliction, the suffering, and the misery, and the whole karmic manifestation and unfolding created the samsaric movement. Yeah. So all this create what we call the maze that grabs the living being. That's why when they are lost for so long, they become like uh, lost in that egoic movement. So much so, they fail to understand what is going on. They cannot come out of it. And through anger, hatred, and delusion, the three evil roots continue to entangle them, continue to trap them. And this is how living beings actually go through the karmic process of suffering and misery. That's why the Buddha, when he realized all this, he summarized all of life into just four noble truths, which are the essence of his teaching. And when you understand the Four Noble Truths, you understand life, and you know how to live life. Then you know how to come, you know how to go, you know how to return, and you know how to manifest, to live life truly. Yeah. Then you understand the profound meaning of this Heart Sutra. 真空妙有. After one has realized true emptiness, existence becomes wonderful. Okay, I will read the last paragraph of 1.1. Then come the external phenomenal world, or what we call the world of form and consciousness, created by the mundane mind via its condition arising thought and consciousness. So our meditation is to develop the wisdom to understand all this. Then retrospectively, to return the entire external phenomenal world of consciousness back to the pure consciousness within the mundane mind. Then silence and still the mundane mind to connect back to our true nature or true mind before returning it to the source via the complete cessation of form and mind. This is how enlightenment occurs. This is how Nibbana arises. Yeah. So Nibbana is just cessation of form and mind. Even the pure awareness nature also ceases. Yeah. So if you do not develop the wisdom through the awareness-based meditation to see all this clearly and to understand all this clearly, you cannot return. You cannot develop all this awakening. So, okay, the first part we finish, one by one. You go back, listen to it again, then read through, and hopefully you can develop better understanding. Okay, 1.2. A condition arising phenomenal world of consciousness. This is the fourth circle. Because we, as a human being or a living being, we have a form and mind. Then within our form, we have our sense bases. Then through perception, we bring in the external form into the mental aspect. That's why the mental, with the four aggregate of feeling, perception, sankhara in consciousness, you add in the perception external form. It also becomes the five aggregate. And that is the second aspect of the five aggregate of form and mind. Where the external form is your mental perception. You bring the external form into your mind, like the Buddha Rupam. How do you perceive it? Through knowledge, through memory. Then the external form enters the mind. Then you start to perceive it through your knowledge, through your accumulated memories and conditioning. Then from there, through your habitual tendency, your views, your opinion, your conditioning and belief system, you created the movement by stirring your mind to develop the thinking and all those things. So all this is how the sixth consciousness, which is perception, creates sankhara. That's why sankhara sanya, that Ajahn Buddhadas, the Thai monk, my Thai teacher, Ajahn Yantra's teacher, Ajahn Buddhadas, he said, this sankhara sanya is like every time move. And it's like cooking. It's like perceive thing, then react, stir. That is what the discriminating seven consciousness is all about. He's talking about the six and seven consciousness. Then from there, it manifests the alaya consciousness or the karmic consciousness. So all this, you can only see and develop the understanding if you have sati or mindfulness within. Okay, I read on. Section 1.2. Everything you come to know and perceive is manifested through mind. Mind make adi, a condition arising phenomenal world of consciousness. So you can see this path, then you will awaken very fast. You listen again. Everything you come to know and perceive is manifested from what? Manifested from the mundane mind, through your mundane mind. That's why the Buddha called it mind make adi. Mind is the forerunner of all things. Mind is chief. And mind arise, all things arise. That's why it is called a condition arising phenomenal world of consciousness. Before mind arise, there was nothing. So everything comes about after mind as a reason. Yeah, mental consciousness. So how real can mental consciousness be? Where it's just an image, isn't it? Constantly arising and passing away from moment to moment. Hence, its impermanent and empty nature or anatta nature. If you can't understand all this real wisdom, then you will grasp and cling onto all the mental manifestations very strongly, thinking that they are real. This is delusion, and it can be so powerful as to cause you a lot of suffering via your sorrow, lamentation, and fear, etc. When you train your mind to be silent, ever mindful and heedful, then you will be able to see things as they are, thereby developing the wisdom and understanding to enable you to free and liberate your mind so that you need not suffer anymore. So this part is not easy, but you can do it. My nature will subdue you. It's very beautiful. So I read again. When you have trained your mind to be silent, ever mindful and heedful, then you will be able to see things as they are, thereby developing the wisdom and understanding, means the paticca the dwelling, etc., to enable you to free and liberate your mind, so that you need not suffer anymore. Then you will be able to connect to your true mind and live from there. It is this true mind in pure awareness that can see things as they are, to realize enlightenment in the here and now. When wisdom stabilizes, the mundane mind will realize itself and cease to be, leading to the realization of Nibbana. Nibbana is complete cessation of form and mind. Even the pure awareness will also cease. And it cannot be talked about because it is the unconditioned and it is beyond the form and mind. And then the next paragraph is what I have explained just now. The Mahayana six consciousness is the Theravada Sanya, aggregates of mind, which is usually translated as mental perception or cognition. It also includes the conception and discerning aspect of the mundane mind. But the key meaning is perception and cognition. The first five types of consciousness are your seeing consciousness, hearing, smell, taste, tactile consciousness. Then the sixth one is your mental perception. I explained just now. Because every of these six senses, your aggregates of sanya is a common denominator. That's why this six consciousness is perception and is the one that brings the external form into the mind. Then you have the seven and eight consciousness of the Mahayana are all within the mental consciousness that arise upon contact of mind with their respective sense organ and data. So here is the summary of what I have explained to you. The sixth consciousness, which is perception, is the one that brings the external form into the mind. Because when you perceive it, whatever you perceive through the external, whether seeing, hearing, smell, taste, or thought, it is the sense data from outside, the external form. So once that one enters the mind, it's like the physics experiment. Upon contact, it manifests consciousness. So the seventh consciousness, which is Sankara, they call it the discriminating mind, which that is the one that have its views, opinion, conditioning, and belief system, habitual tendency, everything, that introduce the content of consciousness and stir your mind. That's why that one is like an organ, yeah, that pick up the sense data, sankara. Then that sanya, sanya that picks up the external form. Then that sankara develops the movement. Yeah. All this stirring reaction is the discriminating movement born of one's views, opinion, condition, and belief system. Then when you do that, like the physics experiment, the resultant is the manifestation of the consciousness. Means like the light bulb, it lights up. Upon contact, it lights up. Means you become conscious. But the content of consciousness that you put into your seven consciousness determine whether it's moral or immoral. That's why that content of consciousness decide on the quality of that coming consciousness. You call it moral and immoral. That's why in the Abhidhamma it is mentioned kusala citta and akusala citta. Kusala is wholesome, akusala is unwholesome. Yeah? So when that Sankara Sanya movement stirred, without the Dhamma understanding, without the wisdom, all of your thought activity and stirring is with sakkayaditthi and avijja behind. That's why it is conditioning the immoral wrong thought. Unless there is Dhamma, it cannot do the other way. Yeah. Okay, move the thing up a bit. Okay, I read on. The mundane mind or false thinking mind is not your true mind, where it is condition arising. That is, it is not a permanent unchanging entity. It has no nature of its own, whereas nirvana is totally different because it is the unconditioned. Once the mundane mind completely ceases, then the true mind will manifest, leading to upstream, mean leading one upstream to realize the oneness nature or the Buddha nature. For that to happen, the pure awareness nature also must cease. The wisdom must be very stable, very stable. Okay, then next part. Mundane mind is the deluded, heedless thinking mind, capable of false perception, capable of cognition, memory, knowledge, and false thinking. So this part is very important, and it's all karmic related. So Sankara Sanya are very active within it, because the mundane mind basically is just Sankara Sanya. Actually, Sanya is part of Sankara. So Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, they are the content of consciousness. It constantly clings and grabs onto the sense data, whereas the true mind is the silent, heedful mind, pure and clear, profound and bright. It can be aware of sense data, thought, and it can also see things as they are. The mind of the enlightened one is connected to their true mind with wisdom. It is the essence of mind, the unconditioned mind. Okay, we stop here. Huh? Okay, 418. Huh? So for those who wants to have toilet break, you can go. Then for those who maybe wants to do the awareness-based meditation, you can start it. We will off the light so that you can have your awareness-based meditation, 45 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So remember to relax body and mind, maintain awareness within, and stabilize the awareness.
Brother, I don't have question to ask.
Then you
Maybe,
can nominate somebody.
maybe I'll let other
Can you
come.
on your mic? Your mic is a bit soft. Weapon.
Okay, can hear me now?
Slightly
Slightly, yeah.
on slightly louder. Yes.
Maybe I.
Chwee,
Yeah.
Chwee,
Yes.
Chwee, Chwee
Okay.
wants to come in.
Okay.
Let Chwee come in. Weapon.
Yeah. Thanks.
Chwee, are you there?
Brother Teo, good afternoon to
Yes.
you, Mrs. Teo, and everybody
Yeah.
listening in. I
Yeah.
just want to ask a very simple question. When you
Ah.
talked about the Dharma ending age, right from the beginning, you it's like um Reverend Xunhua, Master Xunhua talked about it, and he's dead since 1995, if I remember correctly. So
Yes.
it has been about 30 years now. And then earlier on, I mean, it's been going on forever, and the Buddha has been with us for 2000, almost 2,500 years in spirit, at least, you know. And this has been happening ever since the Buddha started it, because he was talking about impermanence all the time. Now I just wonder, how long is it going to last? Some
So your
people are talking
question
about
is,
10,000 years. After the
yeah, your
Maitreya will be
question is,
8,400. And I'm very confused, because the world is ending now, as far as I'm concerned, with the possible World War III and so much bad things happening in the world.
So what is your question, Chwee?
My question is, how long is the Dharma ending age supposed to last? Because at the rate they are talking about, it could be 10,000 years. But the Dharma existed only 2,500 years ago, at least at the time of the Buddhas mentioning that. I'm sure the Buddha never came around.
So what is exactly your question? You are talking about why is it not happening or what?
Well, if it's happening, we have to prepare ourselves in a better way than what we have been doing, at least till now. And I don't know how we can do it except in our own way. But that may not be good enough to prevent, at least to delay that age for, if you're looking at it from a bodhisattva point of view, how we can all do our part to delay that from happening.
I think I understand what you're trying to arrive at. Okay, let me answer you in this way better. You see, this sutta is mentioned very widely that it will be the first Mahayana Sutta to disappear before the Dhamma ending age sets in. So now, based on what we are seeing, we are still not really approaching it yet, because the Surangama Sutta is still actively being promoted, developed, and cultivated by many Dhamma practitioners and cultivators. So based on that, it is not happening just yet. But based on another aspect, which we, through the Theravada tradition, will know, the sasana of Sakyamuni Buddha supposed to last for about 5,000 years if the Bhikkhuni order has not been admitted. But since the Bhikkhuni order has been emitted, it was also mentioned that it will be shortened by about 500 years. So if you base on that, which means it will last 4,500 years after the passing away of Sakyamuni Buddha, which means it's in the year maybe 4080, around 4080, which is another maybe 1,000 away to 2,000 years from now. So all this can maybe brings about the understanding of what this Dhamma ending age is. But as mentioned in the sutta, the sign that you can see is a lot of this, what they call cultivator of the way, they will not be able to continue to actively promote this teaching and get them cultivated by serious practitioners, because the causes and conditions will arise and makes that causes and conditions that are conducive disappear. So once it happens, means more and more people will tend to move away from the cultivation through whatever causes and conditions that manifest. That's why they call it the Dhamma ending age. So when that thing happens, means the first sutta to disappear is this Surangama Sutta, because this sutta is very powerful. As long as this sutta is around, the penetrative teaching and the warning for practitioner of the way are very clearly spelled out. That's why this sutta play a great role in actually preventing the arising of the Dhamma ending age. But as we all know, everything evolve, everything move. So based on the all-knowing knowledge of Sakyamuni Buddha, they have all the records of all the various Sammasambuddha that arise. Some the sasana are longer, some shorter, some maybe in between. But based on what Sakyamuni know or understand through his extensive awakening and all-knowing knowledge, he knew this way which he advocated means his lineage to set up the Sangha. This will allow the sasana to last longer with the teaching. That's why initially he was reluctant to admit the Bhikkhuni order was due to the fundamental reason that it will shorten the sasana by 500 years. But then the causes and condition manifest in such a way that he was willing to admit that Bhikkhuni order because it was, I think, the mother sister who requested, the one that looked after him after the mother passed away not long after birth. Then also the wife Yosuhara and many other very sincere Bhikkhuni cultivator. So because of that, he finally presented or agreed to admit the order. But whatever it is, the world is the world. Condition like that, things be like that. So things will evolve and move in accordance with the Dhamma that unfold and manifest. So as far as my nature is concerned, these are not important. The more important one is not the Dhamma ending age, is how serious are the individual beings that have the opportunity to arise and receive all this teaching. If they are sincere and they have the faith and the understanding, they will strive on with heedfulness to develop this understanding and teaching. Then they play their role. As long as they play their role, the world is the world. Like what the Buddha came to understand, to condition like that, things feel like that. It is how best we can play our role to allow all this to manifest and unfold. Even at that time, Sakyamuni Buddha, maybe the Samasa Buddha, but there is also a limit to what he can do. Although he know all this, that's why he tried his best to allow the sasana to exist for as long as is possible. So actually he preferred the 5,000 years than the 500 years of reduction in the sasana. So based on all this, things will just be the way it is. So he had decided to admit the Bhikkhuni order. Then we have to see how all this unfold and whether what he has developed through his understanding really unfold or not. Because the universe movement is based on past happening. Yeah? And all these past happening, they set a pattern. But as we all know, everything is in a state of flux, fluid. It depends on causes and conditions. So when causes and conditions evolve and move, different things may arise. So all this, as far as my nature is concerned, don't try to get involved because no point. The big movement is so much bigger than what the individual can contemplate or think of. So we just let things be and allow whatever to move based on their causes and conditions. Each and every one of the form and mind that arise, you play your role. Because if you look back, there is no reality. Ain't no you, ain't no me. It's just our nature. The nature that manifests this possibility of having a form and mind to arise. And this form and mind is just one of the segments, and it plays its role. So this is how my nature sees it. So don't be too concerned with the Dhamma ending age, because it's more for the big picture and the big movement and how it unfolds. It's nothing to do with all the so-called egoic mind that try to create that understanding. Well, that is not for the egoic mind to understand. It's more for academic discussion and all those things. Because the movement is the one that decides the big movement. Yeah. So the individual that is part of the summation of all the movement, you can't change much unless you have a nature that is exceptional. But whatever it is, all these are dependent, originated, condition arising phenomena within nature, within existence. So I hope I share a part of the understanding that can let you develop further understanding. Chwee.
Thank you, Brother Teo. But in my own simple interpretation, I have changed the word Dharma ending age to spiritual ending age because it encompasses all beings. I really don't care about religion, I don't care if they are Christian, they are Buddhist, they are Hindu or whatever. But there are beings who are of a certain spiritually a little bit more refined and purer. So I would I have taken that to mean a broader grouping of people, of beings as we know it, because
Yeah, you talk
in
about
that
spiritual
way,
awakening,
yeah.
then
So
it
that,
doesn't cover any particular religion.
yeah.
Uh,
So to me, this Buddhist way of looking at it is much larger than a specific religious pertaining to a
yeah,
specific,
yeah.
you know,
Because
yeah,
Dhamma is truth. Dhamma cannot be monopolized, like what the Buddha actually came to realize too. The Dhamma was there before even he arrived. It was within nature. So he rediscovered it. So what he teach and share is the Dhamma, called the Dhamma, or basically is truth. And his most powerful truth is the Four Noble Truths that he was able to arise and give rise to explain the secret of life, all of life. Uh, Everything that involves existence of life can be covered by his so-called Four Noble Truths. Where these are truths that can make one enlightened one or noble ones. That's why it's called Noble Truth. Mm. In that sense, the word spirituality is more relevant because it's the spiritual teaching, the spiritual manifestation of understanding that living being will have to develop. Yeah. So it's not like monopolized by any particular religion or any sect of uh, teachings by a particular teacher. Where when you teach the Dhamma means you teach truth, and truth is what that the world know. It can explain the way things are. That's why it's called the truth. If it cannot explain the way things are, it's not the truth. The rest are opinion of truth, maybe concept of truth, the individual's perception of truth. Your truth, my truth, his truth. These are relative truth. Whereas the reality within existence, that is the truth. The truth means something that can explain the way things are. That's why it is the truth. It's not like can be monopolized by something. It is something universal. Yeah? When you say you hold the truth, when you have the truth, means you hold the understanding of life, means you can understand life. Whatever manifests, whatever happens, whatever arises, you have the understanding because you hold the truth within that creation or existence. It's just like we call it the nature's law that governs life and existence. Or in the Buddhist teaching or the Buddha's teaching, he called it the Pancha Niyama or the five universal order, the order of nature that governs all aspects of nature. Yeah? That's why in the teaching, the way it's been expounded is very comprehensive and very beautiful. Then Ajahn Buddhadasa put it more beautifully. He said, first there is nature, means within existence there is nature. Then there are nature's law that governs nature. That is the second aspect of nature. Then the third aspect is the individual form and mind that arise. You have to perform a duty towards this nature's law that governs life and existence. You don't perform that duty, then you will get yourself entangled with the nature's law. Then you will go through all the suffering, all the affliction. Then the last part is he say, there is the friction of following that law. When you do your duty towards this law of nature, means you don't go against it, you don't oppose it, you follow it in accordance, you don't violate any of this law, then you will get to live the beautiful and wonderful life of enlightenment. They call it, you get to reap the fruit of your cultivation of perfection. So that aspect to define nature and truth is in fact very comprehensive and very beautiful. That's why I realized the Four Noble Truth is really the secret of life, because it can explain to us all aspects of life, both the mundane and supramundane aspect. So regardless of whether what religion or religion, it is the totality of understanding. When we understand the totality, means we understand truth as it is. Not somebody created the truth. Like Sakyamuni Buddha, he know truth was within nature. Dhamma was within nature. He discovered it. He really discovered it. It was not created by him. Uh, it was
So,
there
so
before.
if yeah,
Yeah,
if
yes.
there's even one pure being or one awakened being who understands the truth, even if there is one left, then
Mm.
the universal Dharma ending, the universal Dharma age will never end.
Yeah.
Even if there is one, instead,
Correct.
because I
Yes.
always look at it and say, oh, it's going to end, but actually, if there is anybody else, it will never end.
As
I
long
mean,
as
this is
somebody
a
holds the understanding, then it will never end. Yes. But what they are talking about is, I believe so, is when there is this non-sasana period, means when the sasana is no more, means when you cannot find the Four Noble Truth, the teaching of Sammasambuddha or all these great beings that have perfected themselves, then he called that the Dhamma ending age. But as we all know, even in the Theravada Sutta is mentioned, when there is no sasana, there can still be enlightened being, especially the Pajeka Buddha, who realize the Nibbanic unconditioned realization through their own uh, practice and cultivation. They came to realize that Paticca Samuppada, the dwelling, the law of dependent origination, no sasana, but yet they awaken. So all these are the possibility. Uh, that's why it doesn't mean that without Sammasambuddha, then Dhamma ending age come, then everything will be in that state of darkness. No, they will still evolve. And they are still beings that come and develop their own understanding and awakening. But they are not Sammasambuddha, which means they don't have a sasana. So Sammasambuddha is unique. They have a sasana. Mm. So that is the only difference. Yeah.
thank you. Thanks
Thank
very much.
you.
Can I
Uh,
ask you one more little
can,
question?
can, can. No problem.
You know, you mentioned in the last paragraph you
Uh,
read to us,
uh,
talking about the return the entire external phenomenal world back to,
mm,
and you
mm.
said pure consciousness within the mundane mind. To me, the mundane mind is not pure. The mundane mind is full of all sorts of, it's on ups and downs and uncertainties, doubts, and the perception changes, everything. And the pure consciousness has would would mean that we let go of mundane mind. Or am I
No,
wrong?
Chwee. Maybe I have to explain a bit more to let you understand further. Where the last part is talking about how can then the living being understand all this? Because initially, from that nature, the first thought of ignorance stirred and created all this movement. Then from there samsara starts. Then over a long period of time, when they are subject to birth and death for aeons and aeons and aeons of period of migration, or what we call the rebirth process, then unless they cultivate the teaching in accordance or they take the Bodhisattva way, how can then they realize that originally they came from that nature? It doesn't mean that that nature become contaminated and become the mundane mind. No, no, no. The mundane mind, they manifest through that movement. We call it the karmic movement, conditioned by the first thought of basic ignorance. Then from there, that screening of the first thought over that thing, they got lost. It's just like now living being or human being who are not Dhamma practitioner and who cannot realize the true mind, they will be completely lost. Lost doesn't mean that they don't exist or they exist in a different manner. Lost means they forgot that originally they were from that nature, which is beautiful. But that nature is not a being. It cannot come out and live by. That's why you cannot call it you are that. No. It's that nature is the oneness nature. It belongs to the entire existence. That is the primordial. It's the original nature. Originally, before any creation arises, before anything start, is from there. And that one is the unconditioned. You cannot talk about it. You cannot discuss it. No word, nothing. And yet it's not a being. That's why it's anatta. Sabbe Dhamma anatta. Even that source is anatta. So what came out of it is the mundane thinking mind, the mundane mind, the dependent originating mind. So that aspect is not you also. There is condition arising, causal phenomenon. It's also not a permanent unchanging entity. And it's not really a being like what you think. But these are dependent originating phenomena. It's not a permanent unchanging entity that you can cling onto, grasp onto, and say, this is me, this is I. So all this movement, unless the cultivator of the way realize the profound understanding, it cannot know how this thing actually manifests, function, and move. So that ultimate understanding is very profound and very different. It's not something that the mundane mind can understand. So when we go through all this so-called Mahayana Sutra or teaching, we have to develop the understanding that the awakening is an all-knowing wisdom that comes with the training and the cultivation. It's not something that we can just develop as concept or idea. It's that penetrative insight, understanding and unfolding that understand that if we go back to the mundane thinking to try to get a concept and understanding of what that thing is, then most of the time cultivator of the way will get stuck because they go back to the thought process. Well, the thought process cannot understand Dhamma that is beyond thought, beyond mind, the unconditioned. So the unconditioned need to be realized. Then when you realize that, then you know from there all things arise. And then your question stop. Your question stop. Otherwise, living being will continue to have a lot of questions. Hope that can help you understand, Chwee.
Sadhu. Thank you, Brother Teo.
Sadhu,
It's very clear. Sorry I misunderstood you. So
Yeah, yeah.
really, it is always there. It's just, in a way, overshadowed by the phenomenal world of consciousness, and it
Correct,
just
correct.
needs to be awakened in a different way. It's going
Yes,
back
yes,
into the true
yes.
consciousness, and then it will suddenly the
Correct.
mundane mind will just go away.
Yeah, it was
Go away.
his. Yeah, it is
Yes.
dependent originating. It was not that it was not intrinsic within the nature. That's enough.
Because that is how I've been practicing, like you've taught us. And then I suddenly saw that, and I thought, oh, maybe I made a mistake. I've never understood this.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Sadhu.
okay.
Very
I'm
good.
safe. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you very
good.
much.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, Sadhu.
Hello, Brother Teo, Amito,
Yes.
Brother Teo, Mrs. Teo, and all Kayamitas.
Yes.
Brother Teo, this subject is most difficult, Brother Teo.
Yeah. That's why it's
When
called the Surangama Sutta.
yes,
Yeah, it
when
explains to us the origin of life. How from the first thought of basic ignorance it arises and become what it is now. That's why it is very profound, very penetrating. So
yes,
this the moment it disappeared, normal cultivator of the way or living being will find it very difficult to have this understanding. If on your own, it's very difficult, very, very difficult. That's why it is put as such high importance within the Mahayana Sutras teaching. Because if this teaching is around, they know the Dhamma ending is very difficult to happen. But once this teaching is no more, then living being can be deceived by all they call it white power, external teaching. The one that may not have much basis, but they will share to you and teach to you as if it's very authentic and very beautiful. Or they can come out with all those theory, but for those who have penetrated and realized, then you don't need all those explanations. Because all those explanations are only, I call it attractive, or maybe that word should be enticing to people who don't have the understanding or penetrative understanding. Because once you penetrate the Surangama Sutta, then you realize you need not come up with a theory or a belief that there is a ultimate creator, or what they call a great being that started all this. No need, because you only need to understand the mind, and the mind is very profound. Not only you understand you have two minds. Of course, understanding that you have two minds is already very good. Then after that, you need to penetrate the true mind, go into the nature and develop all the understanding and the movement. And then only you can go back to what the Samasa Buddha realized. And from there, they can explain the whole movement based on the Surangama Sutta. Then the other unique part of the Surangama Sutta is every of the aggregate, the five aggregate, there are 10 what they call uh, manifestation of mind state that can trap you, that can make you believe that this is the way, this leads to enlightenment. They are so fantastic. they call it the 50 deviant samadhi. It's a samadhi. It's deviant. It doesn't lead you to the wisdom path. It leads you to have the false belief of you are something special. You are something powerful, right? And that's why they call it the 50 deviant samadhi. 50阴魔 means the Mara actually can come and trap you. Yes, these are very fantastic, powerful mind state developed through deep cultivation of samatha meditation, leading to all the dhyan, sahampati, all those things, but not geared towards awakening wisdom. So when you are in this mind state, the 50 divine samadhi, each and every aggregate manifests 10 of it. And a lot of cultivators, the way mistaken it to equal, to be equivalent, to progress or enlightenment. That's where they debate and get into trouble. That's why it's called deviant samadhi. It's samadhi, from samadhi it going. But that type of samadhi is more towards samatha nature, towards energy field, towards concentration, towards developing psychic ability and others. In fact, a lot of Mahayana practitioners, they also go through all these 50 divine samadhi. Then because of this teaching, they were able to come out of it. Even Chwee, the great Zen master that lived until 120 years old, he is the one that actually consolidated the Mahayana teaching. And because he got a lot of disciples, and he through actually it started with Huineng, the sixth patriarch, and until Xu. Then they develop even at the moment the 5 sect or tradition of Zen or the Maya teaching. Actually, according to a lot of the disciples of Xu, all these sects come about after Xu, where he got different disciples who actually share all this. But after the sixth patriarch, before his parinibbana, in the his last, they call it the last chapter, where he transmit the understanding to his student. It seems it was handed down by the first patriarch, Bodhidharma. So Bodhidharma told the second patriarch, the rope and the insignia should stop after the sixth patriarch, whereby then the flower would have developed 5 petals and established the Mahayana teaching very firmly. So that was that so-called prediction in that. That's why when it evolved over the 2000 over years until now, the understanding of this Surangama teaching, Surangama Sutta teaching, and the 6 patriarch platform Sutta teachings are very important. So once you penetrate all this major Mahayana teaching, you will develop a lot of understanding. Sorry, back to you, Puja. Yeah.
Wow, thank you, Vatil. You summarized it very well. That this understanding of the Surangama Sutra, why is it so difficult to understand if we have not penetrated the true mind?
Yes.
In fact, when we penetrate the true mind, we also need to stabilize it, to
Yeah,
cultivate
yeah.
using the true mind for a certain period of time to fully understand what is going
Yeah,
on,
yeah. All this
and
movement.
also with relatives teaching and guidance, right?
Mm.
The understanding is more deepened. Yeah,
Yeah,
relative, all
because
your pointers and guidance.
because of my past, that's why when I saw this sutta, I immediately I can understand one. I know what they are trying to tell people. So it is just the way it is. If you have the cultivation and the training when you come, no matter what word they use, you will know. Then which is the authentic and non-authentic, you will also know. Yeah. Then what they try to explain is the uniqueness of this Surangama Sutta. That's why it is the first predicted to disappear. As long as this sutta is around, it's very difficult to get lost on because the 50 different samadhi, they describe it very clearly. So like Chwee, after he must have read the 50 different samadhi of the Surangama Sutta. So before he get enlightened, you remember, he mentioned his meditative samadhi becomes so unique, transform until at night it's like daylight. He can see inside and outside and the manifesting, but he knew these are the divine samadhi that will manifest to trap cultivator of the way. That's why he is not uh, affected. He does not deviate or stray away from the way. We just take it as the byproduct of whatever samadhi that he has developed. Uh, Then he continued to strive hard until finally he came to realize you must not really strive because he came to great awakening when somebody poured the hot uh, boiling water into his teacup and it spilled onto his hand. Then during that moment, he dropped because it's a natural tendency. It was so hot. He just like released the finger, then that thing dropped. And that instantly hit the ground, that vibration trigger off the awakening and the transformation. Yeah, his wisdom, everything was already ready. He only need a mind that is completely free, completely without attachment, nothing. Well, at that moment of shock, we call it shock. There was no thought. Then in the poem that he described, he said suddenly when that thing happened, his mind like pulverized. You know what is pulverized? Completely like disappear. Then after that, he came to great awakening. Uh, Means he suddenly go into that cessation. Then after that, when he come out, he become very different, completely different. That's why Ananda also said he tried so hard, tried to become Arahant on the last dawn before the first council. Uh, So when he give up everything, when he don't try to become an Arahant, when he don't try to do anything, he just, okay, that's it, Shinso. And he just want to lie down to rest. The moment he did that, his mind was completely free. And then before his head touched the pillow, he became an Arahant. Yeah. That's why when you hold, when your mundane mind still have the what they call willpower to strive to become enlightened, to develop all this, then you will have problem. you will not awaken. That's why the Buddha, the last advice before his parinibbana, he told the monk, strive on with heedfulness. You have to understand that statement. No? With heedfulness only you strive. No? Without heedfulness you strive no use. No? That's why heedfulness is very important. You only strive on when you have heedfulness. Means with heedfulness, when you are ever mindful, constantly meditating, then you persevere. Persevere is to strive on. You don't give up. The steadfast on. You continue with this heedfulness training. Then you will awaken. You will realize the alignment in the here and now. Okay? Yeah, back to
Yes,
you, Puja. Yes.
yes, very beautiful sharing of these few stories that actually is very motivating
Yeah.
for cultivators of the way, that give us the correct understanding in terms of our cultivation,
Mm,
do not be lured or deceived by this 50 deviant samadhi, which is
mm,
energy
mm.
field rather than a free mind of the awareness-based meditation, it's
Mm.
really like Brother said, based on the two story, right? They had a free mind, they are not in concentration
Yeah,
whatsoever
yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
daily life.
Yeah.
In their daily life, they have a free mind, so they went into the cessation of the form and mind. You see,
Yeah, yeah.
not in
Because
concentration,
you
it's
you
not
need to have that type of mind that does not dwell or hold on to anything. It's completely free. Then
yes,
you will
precisely
trigger
correct.
off. You will trigger off. Uh,
Yes. So the striving on, like Brother Teo mentioned, right, is with heedfulness, and we need to understand the definition of heedfulness. It's not through concentration.
yeah, yeah,
It's in your daily life. You are ever mindful,
yeah.
constantly
Correct.
meditating.
That's why you
Yes,
have to develop that mind that is mindful first, then stabilize it to be ever mindful, and then use it to meditate, constantly meditative. Means constantly cultivating the understanding, means you silence that mundane thinking mind. The silent mind without thought, before the knowing, is your true mind. From there, you just develop the understanding. You silently observe, you can also awaken. Yeah, you were inside the phenomenon. Then you silently observe, you will understand its movement. Then you will understand the paticca samuppada, the dwelling, everything. So the silent mind in pure awareness can allow the cultivator to see things as they are, to insight into phenomena, to awaken to the universal characteristics of anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and to develop the full understanding of what their nature is. That's why when you come to the fourth support, which is trust, you trust that nature to develop the movement and understanding. It will awaken by itself. Then that nature, which you get to gain access through the gateway, you can go in and see the transformation inside. Then when you see that transformation, that how through that movement, it creates the possibility of illuminating that nature. There's a Bodhi mind that illuminates that true nature within is very unique. Then after that, you penetrate further until you fully understand what samsara is. And then you will reach the fourth stage of Bodhi mind development, where the Bodhi mind will renounce samsara, means samsara to that cultivator, that being, is no longer an issue. That's why they can renounce samsara. And then after that, the balance of the way is very straightforward. It will just happen. Mm. Oh, 6 o'clock,
wow,
is it?
yes, so
Okay, you want to
beautiful, Brother.
summarize? Ah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
Actually, Matthew, I just want to kind of like summarize the Surangama Sutra, right? It's very appropriate and apt that and how you call that timely that Brother Teo would like to share this Surangama Sutra on Thursday already,
yeah,
next.
because it was requested by Mama Suri. Uh,
Yes, yes. I think
I
it's
don't know
very appropriate.
why. I don't know why so many Kayamita missed the sharing earlier on.
Yes, yes, correct. Since we miss it also, right? So actually I also kind of like read it myself lah, but initially I had, like I told Brother, initially I had difficulty understanding, but then Brother, in our cultivation, if we have penetrated the true mind, if we have gone through the cultivation, right, we the all the question that we have is all answerable,
Yeah.
not need, we don't have so much doubt like the
Correct.
within mind
That's
have.
why the
But instead,
realization is very important. Once you manage to realize the true mind, then if you take the Bodhisattva way and you do the fourth support, your understanding will stabilize further and you become very different. There are all these so-called Mahayana Sutta that are like very penetrative and very difficult for cultivator to understand. Surprisingly, one day after you have that cultivation understanding, you read, hey, how come differently? Now you can understand now it's like no more problem, no more issue. All these are like very straightforward, very clear cut. That's why I used to tell you all in the early day, all these sutta, Mahayana sutta, or very powerful sutta, they are meant for enlightened being. They are not meant for normal living being. Because normal living being cannot understand the teaching. These are enlightened beings teaching. That's why it's meant for those who have awakened. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand. But cultivator of the way have to start from somewhere. That's why they have the three turnings. First turning, second turning, then the third turning. Then after the third turning, you got to continue with the cultivation through the Bodhisattva way, which is leading to the grand finale. I call it the grand finale, but that is the ultimate teaching. It's like the supreme vehicle teaching is the ultimate teaching. And that one take a long time. But it's very rewarding. Very, very rewarding.
yes, Brother, what I want to say is just to continue what along the same line, right? Brother, this Bodhisattva vows is very, very important, And
Yeah.
of course, Brother, the four support that meditation that Brother Theo teach, right? The pure awareness-based meditation, especially the fourth support, is especially unique and
Yeah,
special,
exceptionally
to
unique. Yeah.
penetrate deeper, higher level teaching, Brother.
Yeah.
So that we actually use a trust to meditate, whether in formal meditation or in our daily life as well, so you can see things very clearly, what is going on.
Yeah.
You will not be deceived by whatever like Brother said, people tell you this or that, you cannot be deceived anymore,
Yeah.
you will be able to identify the authentic teaching and understanding,
Yeah.
yes. Sadhu Bratyo Mahasadu, because I get
Sadhu,
to
yeah.
learn this
Rejoice.
Surangama Sutra again, I mean, through
Yeah.
Brother Teo. Thank you so much, Kanan
No
Amitofo, Brother
problem.
Teo.
Let us rejoice with all the good sharing by Chwee and Poh Cheng and all. So let us rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu. Okay, now we will do our closing puja and we end. Akasata Chilpumata Devanaga Mahindika Punyang Tang Anamoditwa Chirang Rakantu Loka Sasana Etta Wata Chamehi Sampadan Punya Sampadan Sabbe Anumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya Idang me tinang hotu supita hontu nyatayo. Idang me tinang hotu supita hontu nyatayo. Idang me tinang hotu supita hontu nyatayo. Devo vasapakalena sasa sampati hetu cha Vito bhavatu loko cha Raja bhavatu dhammiko Imina punyang kamena Mame bala samagamo Ang samagamo hotu Yawa nivana patiya Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu. Okay, y'all can now mindfully pay respect to Lord Buddha, Guanyin Bodhisattva, and all the worthy ones, and we end. Sadhu.